Hello my dear viewers, welcome back to my channel. My name is Malena and today we are going to dive into the topic of clothes that you should avoid when you want to move and walk gracefully. So we will first start with chapter number 1, forms and styles that are difficult. So this applies to all kinds of clothes, not only dresses and skirts, but of course also tops, blouses, trousers, etc. There are specific styles and forms that will definitely make it hard for you to walk elegantly. And although these pieces can really look stunning, they are not really practical with regard to walking. So the first thing is tight and restrictive clothing. Of all the clothes that I will mention here and that I will show you, I almost don't own anything of that because over the time I have practically eliminated all of these difficult pieces. So I cannot really show you a lot from my wardrobe, but I will show you some pictures and some examples so that you know what I mean. With tight and restrictive clothing, I am referring to, for example, very tight jeans, bodycon dresses, or very tight tops. This can really restrict your movement and your natural walk because walking femininely and gracefully and naturally requires fluid movement, as I have already mentioned in my walking video, which I will link here for you. But you're wearing a very tight jeans that you can hardly breathe in, and breathing is very important for walking also, or you are wearing a very tight skirt that you cannot do steps in because with each step, skirt is moving up. Or, for example, a very tight pencil skirt that is so tight that your steps, you can only do like minimal steps, also not really helpful. And it's obvious, but we often do not think about it when we buy clothes. So you should rather opt for pieces that allow you to move with ease. And those pieces don't have to be big and wide, but they have to fit well. So they have to allow you steps that are normal. You should not move around when you are walking. So if you're buying a skirt in the shop, you always have to try it on and possibly walk around a little bit to see if it stays in place. Because I already had this, that I have bought skirts that were mini skirts, but sometimes also a bit longer skirts. And they fitted well, they looked very nice, but then when I walked, they were moving around all the time. And then at some point I had the back of the skirt in the front, or even worse, with mini skirts, they were moving up. So I had to constantly move them down. Tell me in the comments if you have made a similar experience, because I don't know, but this happened to me a few times already. Maybe it also depends on your body or how you, on your hips, how you move. But yeah, this is a thing. And then there are other pieces, other skirts, for example, that are hugging your curves perfectly, that are really fitting well, and that have the right amount of elastic fibers so that they don't move up and move around. They're also not too big or too small. This is also a thing. A skirt, for example, that is too small tends to move up. A skirt that is a bit too big tends to move around. So that's all bad if you are walking and trying to walk elegantly. So pay attention to the right cut and size. The second thing are excessive lengths. Floral length gowns, dresses, maxi dresses, for example, are very beautiful and they can look very feminine. But these dresses and skirts are very difficult to walk in for inexperienced walkers, but even for experienced walkers, because we can see that on the catwalks that sometimes when the models are wearing very long dresses or very long skirts, they tend to get tangled in this material and then sometimes even they fall. And if this happens to professional models, it can of course happen to us. So that's why you should always be careful when you buy long dresses and skirts. Make sure that they are not that long that they are touching the ground, especially when you are not wearing very high shoes. you have to consider that if you are wearing flat shoes, that the skirt is not touching the ground. And if you are already having a dress that is quite long, try to wear wedges or heels so that the dress doesn't touch the ground. And then when you are walking on stairs, up and down, you have to always lift the material. This is a situation in which you can easily trip on the dress and on the material, and this is really also dangerous. The second point are materials. Materials that are difficult. And I have already mentioned this now in the first point a little bit, because oftentimes all these things go together. Sometimes it's not only the form and the style, also the material. Or sometimes it's just the form or just the material. All the combinations are possible. Materials play a significant role in how you move. The materials that might not be the best companions when it comes to a graceful walk and an elegant movement while walking are stiff fabrics. And this is also tricky because stiff fabrics all mostly tend to look expensive and they tend to look elegant, well structured. So it's also kind of contradiction because we want to look elegant and expensive, but at the same time we want to walk in a fluid way. So what is quite restrictive and doesn't go well with walking elegantly and sensually are stiff fabrics like heavy denim, for example. And as I said, structured materials that simply limit your range of motion, because when you walk, you have to move. You don't only move your legs, but you also move your arms and your body has to flow. So these very stiff materials, they can hinder your sway and also the natural flow of your walk. So choose materials that allow you to glide. You can of course wear some structured materials in order to also look expensive and well dressed, but try to not overdo it. So for example, when you are already wearing a structured top, like a blazer, don't wear a very hard, stiff skirt, for example, or short, because those stiff structured materials are also in general better on the upper body than on the lower body. So a blazer that is a bit stiff is okay. And also avoid unbreathable fabrics. This is another thing that is quite important. And we don't think about that sometimes. There are fabrics that are simply not letting you breathe, not letting your skin breathe. And you are feeling hot in them and they are sticking to your skin. And I'm not only referring to polyesters, but sometimes it's just a mix of materials that is not letting you feel good. You should also be careful with leather, for example. And although leather is a natural material, it is a bit stiff, it can be stiff at least, and it is thick. And I, for example, I had a leather dress once, it's a long time ago, and it was also a very nice feminine cut, but it felt a bit restrictive, and not only because, of course, it wasn't flexible, but also because I had the feeling that I cannot really breathe in it well. Fashion should never sacrifice comfort. And fabrics that don't breathe well or make you feel sweaty or hot or uneasy, they affect your confidence and how what you project. So rather opt for breathable fabrics that let you walk with ease and poise. For example, I can recommend silk with regards to flowy fabrics. Viscose is also good. Cotton is of course very nice, and also cashmere as a warmer fabric. Number 3, the shoe dilemma. So I have talked about shoes very recently. If you haven't seen that video, I will link that here and also down below so that you can watch it. But shoes are also something that can make your walking very difficult. And that's why they are a very essential part of your clothing when it comes to clothes to avoid when you want to walk like a lady. And the first type of shoes that you should avoid when you want to walk elegantly are sky-high stilettos. So most of us women cannot walk with ease in sky-high stilettos. At least they make walking gracefully a very difficult task and a very challenging task. I don't want to say that there are no women who cannot master that. Of course there are, but why making your life so difficult? If you are not accustomed to wearing sky-high stilettos, simply consider a more moderate heel. Something a little bit lower. A shoe that is still very beautiful and sexy, but is not overwhelmingly high. That you can confidently walk in. Because the right shoe can make or break your walk. It's simple as that. And the second thing are ill-fitting shoes. It's the same that goes for clothing. But with shoes it's even more important because they are the base for your walk. So shoes that are too loose or too tight make you feel a lot of discomfort. And I mean, your walk should exude confidence, femininity, grace, not pain or insecurity. So always choose a shoe that fits well and provides support. So now you know what to avoid with regard to your clothes, and now you just need yourself and the right walk. And if you don't know your walking style archetype yet, I recommend you to watch the next video where you can do a little test and where I also explain my 4 walking archetypes that I personally have developed. So I will see you there. Thank you for watching and bye bye.